Hey y'all, from Spindle Mountain Mercantile, I am Heather. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm pretty certain most of you who have had an antiques booth have not only seen these, but probably had one or two for sale in your booth. They are pretty common reproductions from the 80s. What's not common is getting all of the glass intact and having the legs not wobbly. This one was the exception. Since it was in such great condition to start with, we decided instead of painting it, we would make it look older by giving it some flair and a little bit of darker stain. So let's get started and I'll show you what we did with this china cabinet. The day I'm recording this voiceover is my husband's birthday. That's the reason I haven't had a video out until today. It's not because we've been celebrating, rather it's just that I haven't asked him to do as much. I guess that was my gift to him. I don't think I push him too hard. I just help him keep moving. He needs that sometimes, don't we all? He really enjoys when I read how much you guys like his tips, so he wanted to share this one with you. He likes to put duct tape on the back of his sandpaper because it keeps it from falling apart when he's using it. Also, his favorite sandpaper is from Harbor Freight, and it's ceramic instead of sand. His first objective is to remove the glossy parts of the finish on the piece. For that, he's using 220 grit sandpaper just to knock that down. Secondly, he needs to make it just one color so that when he puts the stain on, it will not have a bunch of different depths of that darkness. For that, he's using 400. This project didn't cause us many dilemmas, but the first one was these two dowel parts that somebody had left when the little backboard piece had broken off of the top. Okay, you wanted to tell him something about the saw?
On any kind of saw, the blade teeth are bent out to the sides and they alternate one to each side. That way they get a good cut that's wider than the back so that it hopefully doesn't bind. This is a finishing saw and all of its teeth are bent only one way. I keep forgetting which way it is, so the best way for me is to put it on a flat surface and try to move it a little bit, and I can feel the teeth catching. This side is smooth. It just, if I use a regular saw to cut this dowel off, I will cut into my wood and I'd have to sand off a lot more.
I gotcha.
But this way I can rub this along the wood and it doesn't scratch the finish.
I see. It just takes off the part that's above.
And then I can saw it off.
Okay.
The teeth are now facing the work, and it will cut into it as I'm cutting it off. So then I would have to come under it like this to keep the teeth facing out.
Thank you. Hey, they really like when you tell them how to do stuff. They all say thank you.
Good. I wish my wife was the same way.
Oh my gosh. Yep, there's my sweet husband. When the sandpaper catches on your object, it will slip out of your hand, so he likes to hold a corner of it between his thumb and pointer finger. Right here he's showing me how the shiny part isn't coming off that great, so he's thinking about using a power sander. In the end, he decided to continue doing it by hand and just changing up his sandpaper. Sandpaper grit is measured by square inch. Per square inch, there's a certain number of pieces of grit, whether they're made from ceramic, as in our case, or by sand, or some other kind of material. If you only have 60 pieces of grit in that square inch, those pieces of grit are large and there's more space between them. They're going to dig down into the surface more, and the surface will have more room to go up in between them because of that air. If the number is bigger, it means there's a lot more pieces of grit and less air between them. So those pieces of grit have to be really small. That means the surface won't go up into the sand as much. So if you move from a low grit sandpaper like 60 up to 400, changing grits in between, you will gradually get fewer scratches in your wood. You're inevitably going to have scratches because it's literally scratching off the surface. Using a fine grit sandpaper really reduces those scratches so they're barely visible to the naked eye. But if you go against the grain, you will be a little more likely to see them. That's why you should always go with the grain. That way those scratches look like wood grain. Every once in a while, you'll see that he takes that piece of sandpaper and whacks it against the cabinet. That's because those pieces of grit get clogged up with that space between them with the dust, and he just wants to knock that out. If you don't, it's just like rubbing a piece of paper over your surface. To add that flare I mentioned, I'm using Iron Orchid Designs paint inlay, and surprise, I don't know how to pronounce this, but I believe it's Versailles. I think that because it looks like the word Versailles. You know, that's that place in France, they always have the big shows, and it looks like it's spelled Versailles. Y'all can tell me if I'm wrong. I just don't know why the French do that. It's like when people go to the Louvre, I'm always thinking, oh, they have to borrow the potty. So this book has 8 pages, 4 of which are one type of branch and the other 4 are a different branch. Each of those pages has a different animal out of 4 different designs, and they're kind of intermixed, so it looks like there's more designs than there really is, but truly it's just 2 base designs. You want to make sure you cut out around each of those pages the excess paper, or else you'll have a great big line between your designs. And then you want to lay everything out, and the trick is to make sure those designs go together. They're made so that you can put them together, but you just want to double check to make sure they all line up. If you read the manufacturer directions, I'm doing this all wrong. They recommend using a clay-based paint that is water soluble. I use Debi's Design Diary liquid patina in the color Crystal Clear Chandelier. In my booth in upstate South Carolina, I sell Debi's products, but I don't do mail order. However, Debi has provided a link just for my customers you can use to buy from her, and she will give me a small compensation. You can find that link in the description below. And by the way, Debi won't raise your price. I simply put down the liquid patina with a pretty heavy-handed brush, and then I laid the inlay on top of that. Before I put the inlay down, I sprayed it with my misting bottle to make sure it was wet, and I missed a few spots, so I just sprayed it a little more after it was applied. I put a soft towel under the water and got it pretty wet, and then I wrung it out so it's just damp. Then I used that to dab at the paint inlay, and I used a pretty good amount of pressure. You want to make sure you don't go like back and forth because you don't want to smear the paint. You just want to go up and down. I wanted you to see where when I put the next paint inlay down, I got it lined up pretty good on one side, and I realized it was just a little bit crooked. And if you start off a little bit crooked in one corner and it's at an angle, then by the time you get to the next corner, it's a bit crooked. So I lifted up part of it and reset it, and that just goes to show that you have a little bit of time before your paint adheres to your liquid patina or your chalk paint, whatever you're using to apply your paint inlay. The manufacturer directions say to let your paint inlay dry all the way, and before you remove it, spray it again with water, just enough to get the paper damp, and wait about 30 seconds. I froze this part of the film so you could see that I realized I had forgotten to do that in that top corner. So I had laid it back down and I got the paper wet. Well, where I started pulling it back again, the paint started coming off where I initially stopped. I hope all of this makes sense. It made me realize that that first mistake of not adding water was a good thing, and that's what I needed to do with the whole entire process. I laid it back down, I let it dry, and came back to it later. In the meantime, I started pulling up paper that was dry, and look how fabulous it is. It came up perfectly. Before you try something like this, make sure you know what you're doing with paint inlays in general. I would recommend starting with a small print, something maybe from Floriography. There was a Christmas book last season, there was an Easter book. Those all have great little pictures you could start with. I did a freeze frame right here so you could see what that one part looked like before I fixed it, and to do that I simply reapplied the same exact piece of paint inlay with brand new liquid patina. I let it dry and then I removed it. The very nature of paint inlays has imperfections. If you don't like that, maybe stick with transfers. My surface is pretty gritty, so there's going to be more places where the paint did not adhere. If you want to try paint inlays and you want it to adhere a little better, sand the surface first and then use something like Debi's DIY Salvation Solution or shellac, and that will give it a smooth surface before you add the paint inlay. For this one, I want it to look look old. I want it to look like every time Grandma took a plate or a cup out of that cabinet, she scratched it. I want it to look 100 years old. Just to be clear, imperfections and mistakes are two different things. So now I'm going to fix my mistakes. First, I'm going to fill in where I have those little lines, and I'm using Debi's beadboard and letterpress gray to do that. First, I took a tiny brush with the letterpress gray and I just dabbed it along the line. Then I went back over that with the beadboard just by dabbing. I didn't do any brush strokes. Then I take another paintbrush and I kind of went in a tiny little swirly motion and just rubbed it all around. And I went up and down on the line so that it didn't look like it was going straight across. I also fixed this little squirrel guy that I had decided to make it look older. I would start sanding. That did not work. Boy, did I mess it up. That paint just smeared. So I stopped immediately and cleaned up the smear, and now I'm going over the squirrel again with the same exact paint inlay paper, and I just reapplied it as if it was, from the beginning. I just had to make sure that all of those little lines were exactly on top of the original squirrel lines. When everything was completely dry, I used Rust-Oleum's Ultra Cover Matte Clear to seal it. And you know what? It was super hot outside, so I did it in the house. I just put my hand inside of the cabinet and I held the door down over my hand. And after I got done sprayed, I really quick pulled my hand out and I shut the door so that my husband wouldn't get mad. And I just want y'all to know that no brain cells died in the painting of this cabinet. For stain, we're using Minwax Wood Finish in the color English Walnut. We thought my sweet husband was filming me do the paint inlay stain, and he only had it on photo. So this is all we got. I'm not throwing him under the bus. I've done it so many times myself. I knew exactly what happened as soon as I saw the picture. No worries though, you can still see how we did it because we did the inside the same way we stained the outside. We stirred the stain very well, and then we dipped a towel into it and wiped it onto the raw wood. We didn't care which direction we put it in the beginning because after that we put a second coat and we made sure that second coat went with the grain. Then we took a dry clean cloth and we wiped off the excess stain in the same direction as the grain. And if we just had a little bit more puddled in one place, we went back and just wiped it again. We didn't worry about getting it on the glass because stain cleans off really easy off of the glass. In the little corners and crevices where my towel wouldn't reach, I simply used a small paintbrush to dab the stain into those areas, and then I went back over that with a corner of the towel I kind of twisted up so it would fit down in there. Of course, I used Sprayway Glass Cleaner because it's the best. It doesn't leave streaks and I don't have to use very much. I use one towel on both sides of the glass to get it wet and to clean it, and then I used another towel on each one to dry it. So I don't even use that much paper towel with it. I did leave one little portion so you can see the difference, and it was amazing. It came out so clean. For the sealer, we did tape the glass because it will leave a pretty significant mess on there. To seal it, we used Clear Gloss Wipe on Poly by Minwax. This is super easy to use. You simply pour it onto your object and then you wipe it off, and that's it. We let the first coat dry and we added a second coat. After the second coat dried, we needed to do another process, but my sweet husband wants to explain that. I'm going to show you what we did here, and then I'll pop back in and he can tell you that part.
Like there's little bits of sand all over it. So you take 400 grit sandpaper,
okay,
and you just lightly run over the top. You're not sanding it off. You're just knocking down.
Oh, I see little places where it sanded it.
You're just knocking down the high spot, the little grains that are sticking up.
Okay.
You're not even taking off the finish. You're not putting any pressure on it except for barely a little bit. See, it's ready.
Okay.
Now it feels smooth.
Oh wow, yeah. does.
Big difference.
So after that small amount of sanding, we did a third coat of poly and we let it dry and we were done with the ceiling. Before we move on, I want to share two things. We worked on this laying on its back on a table. So when it was drying, we had to make sure the door was propped open. We used this lid, but you could use a stick. That just will make it so it doesn't make marks on the cabinet. Also, here he is doing the poly and you can see I've already staged the pictures. We worked around each other and some of the parts were done before other parts. That's why in the video, sometimes you'll see something that is finished before I actually showed you how to do it. So he brought me this stick and he said, hey, bring your camera outside and film me so I can show him how to make these dowels. He was kind of proud of this. We only had 8 dowels and we needed 12 to hold the shelves up. So he found out how big his dowels were by putting them in the sizer. Then he took this square piece of wood and he just went back and forth on his sandpaper and knocked off the square corners. So now it's round. Then he put that back in the sizer to see if it was the right size, and if it was still too big, he just took it and went over the sandpaper more, only he turned it as he went so that it kept the round shape. Then he made sure it was the same length as the dowel and he sawed it off. And he wants you to know that right here, when you saw something this small, don't go back and forth and just go all the way through. Turn the object and make your saw go one way, lift up the saw, go back and go one way again, and do that while you're turning it, and that will keep it from having a jagged edge. Next, he took one end and rubbed it over his sandpaper as he turned it to make a pointed edge that will fit into the cabinet. For the part that sticks out of the cabinet, he sanded that as well, just to make sure it was really smooth. And we put everything back together and I had a little moment where I thought, oh no, we should have stained those, but you couldn't even see them. So with that, our cabinet was complete. Every time I get to this part of the video, I always feel so blessed, because thanking y'all for joining me, whether you're new or you're a return viewer, it reminds me of how grateful I am for each of you. I hope you like this cabinet even half as much as I do. I really do think it looks like something that's 100 years old, but was taken very well care of. I mean, except for the places where, you know, Grandma was so excited because company was a-coming that she took the dishes out maybe a little too quickly and scratched it. If you found some inspiration, please let me know what it is. Maybe you want to take something you have and make it look really old, or just match your style better. Maybe you just found a new way to use paint inlays. Whatever it is, please share that with me. Until you see me next time, I hope you have a wonderful week. And as always, I hope you are blessed. Bye.